I get a lot of people asking me this question. They're saying, Scribe, what am I supposed to be focusing on right now in Galaxy of Heroes? And it's an important question to ask yourselves, guys. This is a resource management game, and making sure that you invest your resources in a way that is going to be benefiting both you and your guild is a key way to progress. That's what we're addressing in today's video. Let's break it down. I know we can't actually answer this question and have it be applicable to every single player in the game, because this is largely going to be dependent on where you are and where your guild is currently. If you're an early game player, then a lot of this information might not be necessarily applicable to you, but if you're a mid-game player, a guild that has just started, perhaps going into this new Rise of the Empire TB, then this is probably the place for you. What I always like to recommend is to build teams that will benefit you in many areas of the game, and most importantly, in the areas of the game that are going to benefit your roster the most. In my opinion, the way that you benefit your roster the most is the ways that will help you progress in areas of the game that give the most rewards. I'm talking about things like Fleet Arena, GAC, Territory Wars, and of course, Territory Battles. So that's how I come about and look at it and think, what is the most important thing to get for those game areas? Are there any teams that touch on multiple of those areas and benefit all of them? Typically speaking, if you're going after meta characters and meta teams, that's the best way to go about it, because they are typically the strongest characters in the game. So let's take a look at the journey guide. For the very first character that I'm going to recommend, it's actually going to be a solo journey in your solo guide, and it is the very newest legendary character that has reached Galaxy of Heroes, that is Dr. Aphra. Now, I can understand, guys, you don't want to be jumping in straight on Dr. Aphra because her marquee characters still aren't properly or fully farmable just yet. We're waiting for Sanastaros at the time of this recording, so you can't realistically farm her. I would counterbalance that with the following, however. You can get BT1, you can get 000, and you can certainly go ahead and push for Hondo. He is a very, very quick and easy farm. He's on a low energy Cantina node and operates perfectly well on his own without the need of BT1 and 000. These characters will be easy to gain the shards for. Sure, they are hard node farms. They're going to take you 3 months roughly if you are refreshing those nodes once at a time. But typically speaking, you're more concerned about how quickly you can get the gearing and the relic levels done for these characters. Now, you might be asking the question, why are we gearing Dr. Aphra? What makes her so important? How does she touch on all the game modes? First and foremost, I would say that Dr. Aphra's team in 3v3, which would consist of herself, BT1 and 000, are a pretty viable team in 3v3 GAC. You've got 2 Omicrons from the likes of 000 and BT1 that operates exclusively within 3v3, giving you some value in GAC. In 5v5, she herself has got Omicrons for 5v5 GAC, so it shores up the defenses there. But most importantly, I would have to say, is what she brings to your roster and what she brings to your guild in light of the new Rise of the Empire TB. There are more than one combat missions where she is hard required in order to progress, and whilst I do understand that combat missions aren't where you gain the majority of your territory points in this new TB, really that focus is more around the deployments, it's still important to bring your value to the guild when it comes to combat missions. It is impossible to 3-star all of these events currently unless you do interact with some of the combat missions, unless your guild happens to be 500 million plus GP, at which point I would probably say perhaps this guide is not for you. So she would definitely be my first choice here as a priority farm. Definitely go and look to get her. Yes, I understand Sanastaros is not yet farmable, but she will be in the near future, and the teams that get developed out of this are quite useful. Sanastaros' teams, which uses other scoundrels and other rebels, perhaps is not the greatest. Certainly is good, certainly is powerful. However, it is really a late game modified team, so you would really have to wait until, you know, you're at a point where gearing up Captain Han Solo to a high relic level and gearing up the likes of Rebel Officer Leia Organa to a higher level is attractive to you. At this point, I wouldn't say it is, but BT1, 000, Hondo, and Dr. Aphra herself all bring value there. Also brings value to your guild in the combat missions. I think she's a good choice. Let's go on to option number 2 now, guys. And we don't have to go very far. It's going to be the Grand Inquisitor. Yes, I know what you'll be saying. You'll be like, Scribe, you've certainly changed your tune. Haven't you been professing how bad the Inquisitor faction is? No, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. The Inquisitorius without Grand Inquisitor is not a particularly strong faction. The Inquisitorius with Grand Inquisitor, when you do not have proper modding or do not have proper approach or that sort of thing, is also a bit of a lackluster team. However, if you invest in this team, you will get so much back in rewards. It's absolutely absurd, and I don't even know where to start. Let's actually go ahead and start with assault battles. There is a new, relatively new assault battle that is focused around the Inquisitorius faction that will give you additional relic materials. Relic materials right now are possibly the most important, the most valuable resource in the entire game. The amount of relic levels that we have to invest in order to develop and progress in this new TB is astronomical. You already know my opinions about gating or relic gating of this new TB. The only way that we're going to really progress quickly in that area is if we start getting teams that give us more relic signal data and more relic materials to break down in order to develop our relic levels in our rosters quicker. These guys give us another source of that income, which is invaluable. In GAC, they can do some good. They can kill a number of teams that may well be causing people issues. They can take out the likes of Gas. They currently have their own Datacron set, which can actually help them take out GLs. Yet to really see if it works particularly well in 3v3, but in 5v5 it certainly does have a little bit of efficacy. Now when it comes to TW, there are plenty of Omicrons on this team that will help them kill basically any GL, especially when put hand in hand with these new Datacrons. So there's value in TW, which is obviously where we get our droid brains, which are needed for us to take our characters to Relic 9. So the value is there as well. GAC and TW currently. In TB, need I say more? The latest character, we have got Reva over here, the brand new Territory Battles character that we are already having insider information saying with her in the squad you are beating GLs on offense without too much issues. Only Rey apparently causes some issues for Reva, and that is without even her Omicrons active in GAC. So the value that she will bring to your roster is enormous. So if you have an entire guild focusing on the Inquisitorius faction, which is exactly what I think everybody in a guild that is running Rise of the Empire should be doing right now, a focus on trying to get your Inquisitorius faction up to Relic 7 at a bare minimum, just to be able to compete in that mission, should be a number one priority, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody should be ignoring the Inquisitorius faction right now. CG's finally done it. They've finally broken us. We are eventually gearing up our Inquisitors. Not only that, but the latest Conquest character is, of course, the Scythe, which is the Grand Inquisitor's ship, and that's going to be probably making some waves. And even if it wasn't, it is a deployment and operation requirement for TB en masse. Get the Scythe, guys, you need it. Inquisitors help you do that. Offering value in every game mode as far as I'm concerned. Let's go on to the very final character that I want to talk about today, the very final character that I feel everybody should be getting. And unfortunately, it is a galactic legend, and that would be Jabba the Hutt. I know I sound like a broken record right now, but Jabba the Hutt might not be a phenomenal GL. He is certainly a strong GL, but right now, every single GL in your roster adds value. It doesn't matter who it is, if it's C, if it's Jabba, if it's JMK, if it's Lord Vader, every single one of them improves your competitiveness. I don't want to hear about people complaining about the crap characters that they have to gear in order to get a Galactic Legend. There is no dead weight. Okay? Every single investment that you make to get a GL is a necessary requirement to help you progress your roster. Jabba is able to beat many GLs in GAC, is able to be put as a solid defensive team in GAC as well, going to be causing your enemies additional frustration. And when it comes to TB, there is so many missions where you have to have Jabba. You've got to have Jabba. You've got to have Jabba. You've got to have Jabba. Not only that, when we're looking in a PvE environment, he does well in the Crankle raid. Not that I feel like that should be a deciding factor in most people's rosters right now. However, if you are currently in a guild that is struggling with the Crankle raid, he does do fairly respectable damage there. When we also take a look at other areas in which he brings benefits, you can see that he brings benefit by being able to let you participate in the Smuggler Run 2 event. The Smuggler Run 2 event gives you a boatload of micro attenuators, I think they're called, which helps you slice your mod mats. When you get them into the 6E to 6A range, you can re-roll your rolls there on your mods, using those attenuators, and this guy lets you farm them at an alarming rate, and that event is dropping like twice a month. The value that you get from that event is astronomical. Okay, so again, this guy brings benefit in GAC. GAC has crystals, guys, so don't forget about that. Brings value in TW, much in the same vein as GAC, is a staple defensive team, can certainly be used on offense as well. Brings massive value in TB because you can constantly be using him in those TB combat missions. Bringing more stars to your guild, which means more rewards to your guild, is very, very lucrative. And I think we'll go ahead and just give you guys just one little bonus tip. I have a number of friends and allies in this game that will talk to me about conquest units. When conquest units drop to the game, when they get a new conquest character, which we are due to get now that the Scythe is about to be discontinued from conquest as far as being a pivotal unit within there. We're going to be getting a brand new conquest character very, very soon in the coming month or so. A number of people I've spoken to have not bothered in getting red crates within conquest, missing out on the Scythe simply because they don't have Grand Inquisitor. They're saying, I can't unlock it, so why bother? And I'll tell you guys, I hate to see people do this. It is a massive, massive faux pas. All right, the problem with pushing a conquest down the road is that it makes all of your future farms more difficult. Okay, so when the next big character comes out in the next conquest, you may say, oh, I can get this or I can't get this, so, you know, I farm it or I don't farm it. However, if you choose to not farm it and choose to focus on the Scythe, that's fine, but you're not being as efficient with those Scythe shards. It's not as good as red boxing, nothing ever is. So you're wasting more resources that could have been allocated elsewhere. And more importantly, if you choose to continually kick it down the road, you're not going to be getting that unit for a very, very long time. It might not feel like it's going to hurt you now because you can't use it, but down the line, you will regret it. So please, do yourself a favor. Every single conquest, make sure you do your best to red box every single time. I know it's a grind, I know it's a pain, but it benefits you in every single way of thinking about it, okay? Especially if you are one of those people that is constantly, deliberately not getting red boxes when you certainly can, because many of these conquest unlocks can be done even if you do not have a lot of the teams required. If you keep on knocking it down the road and you've got multiple characters that you haven't unlocked, it's so hard and so slow to get those characters to 7-star, to get them unlocked, to get them usable, simply because you're wasting more and more resources. I'm not saying go out and spend money. I'm just saying red box your conquest, guys. And that's going to about do it, guys. Let me know down in the comments section down below, what are your favorite teams to be gearing? What do you think is going to be needed for the future? And what are you prioritizing right now? I want to know it all. And in case you haven't already, please do hit that like button and consider subscribing to your boy Scribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.